Warning: the following content may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Time is fickle. Time is long. Time goes ever on and on. Came the song from lilac lips from head mare Starlight as she walked through the halls, passing students while seeking out her office to numb her mind with paperwork for the next few hours. Recent events had taken a toll on her. Spring Breeze had disappeared just outside of Ponyville, and a week later, the school still had a nervous air about it. She knew the truth, however, and it was worse than any of them knew. But as head mare, it was all she could do to laugh and smile and lighten the mood, even if she was just as angry as the students she was cheering up. Even if it meant ignoring justice, she was head mare of the School of Friendship. What would happen to the school and all the students if they learned who their princess really was? She found her office door open, just a crack, and heard noises from inside. Entering, she saw Twilight searching through shelves and cupboards. And though her movements were calm and steady, her eyes were wild, and her mane was just slightly upkept. "What are you doing here?" Starlight demanded, closing the heavy door behind her. No matter what words were exchanged, a student outside would only hear muffled shouting. "I thought I told you never to come back." "I left something behind. Besides, what is a School of Friendship without the Princess of Friendship?" "Okay," Starlight noted with hefty sarcasm. "Then find what you're looking for and get out. If anything happens, I don't think I'll have to look forward before I find who's responsible." "Celestia above, you're so uptight. Starlight, relax a little." Twilight laughed. They were sharing an elaborate joke. "You act like I killed one of your students." Starlight just stared at her mutely. "Look, relax, Flutter." "Her name is Spring Breeze." Twilight rolled her eyes. "The point is, she's happy and healthy staying with me. It was her choice." Twilight continued searching through the cupboards, passing up trinkets and memories and a growing collection of various jars of bottled up anger before at last opening the final cupboard. "It's always in the last place you look," she mused, while placing the enormous metal collar on the table. Pushing aside a large stack of papers, there were dark stains around the neck. Starlight gagged, but couldn't look away. "You're not the pony who taught me, Twilight. Not anymore. And missing your friends is an excuse. I may miss Trixie, but at least I found a healthy way to cope." Twilight's facade as a princess cracked just a little, and her reply was both bitter and sarcastic. "Ah, yes. By burying yourself in work, tell me, how's that working out for you? At least you got to choose your fate. You processed her death long before you cast that spell." Starlight's jaw clenched, and her horn began to glow. The air began to stir as she summoned up her magic. "If immortality is such a curse, I'd be happy to do you a favor." Twilight just rolled her eyes. How many times have I heard that line before? Nero was a colt, a unicorn, and a student of the School of Friendship. Above all, though, he had been Spring Breeze's friend. But now Spring Breeze was gone, disappeared into the night, and it seemed only Nero cared enough to actually investigate. Nero and Abathia, of course, who sat on the colt's head in the form of a cockroach. "Do you smell that?" the Abathia commented as the acrid smell of magic wafted through the door. "She might be busy. Are you sure she wants to be disturbed right now?" "This is important, Abathia. Now, change back. Changelings are supposed to shape change in front of teachers." "Nah," the changeling dismissed as he crawled onto Nero's snout and did a little dance. "Starlight will know it's me. Besides, I think she likes my antics." "If you say so." Nervously, Nero knocked on the door. The sound of his hoof on the wood was loud and clear, and it hung in the air for far too long in the silence that followed. "Maybe she's not here," Nero concluded. "Nope, I saw her come this way earlier. She's definitely here." Then the door opened, and Nero found himself face to face with Princess Twilight. She was massive, twice as tall as any normal pony, and adored with shiny regalia. And on her flank was a singular six-pointed star. It was alone. Despite her disheveled hair, she still looked regal, and when their eyes met, Nero made certain to greet her with a smile, unlike Abathar. He, at least, was raised with manners. She did not return it. In fact, her face was rather grim as she silently walked past him, taking with her a strange metal object he couldn't quite identify. "Don't mind her, Nero. She's just grumpy," Headmaster Starlight called to him in a cheery voice from within the office. The colt entered and looked around the office to find it was in disarray, with cupboards open and papers everywhere. One particular cupboard was still closed, and perhaps if he were more nosy, Nero would have found that the collection of bottled anger had an extra jar. "Were you two casting a spell just now?" Something like that. Don't worry about it, though. I can clean up later." She walked over to her desk as Nero took a seat in front of it. She was nearly as big as Twilight, but without any wings. Powerful though she was hardly arrogant enough to make herself an alicorn. "But first, you had something you wanted to talk about?" Yeah, it was about Spring Breeze." Starlight was taking a sip of coffee and almost choked. "About Spring Breeze. Look, I know she was your friend, but you can rest easy. We have every resource we can spare out looking for her. I'm sure we'll find her before long." "Well, actually, we wanted to..." Nero stuttered. "We want to help out. We were wondering if you had any leads for us to follow," Abathar shouted, still atop Nero's head in the form of a cockroach. Starlight's face quickly turned amused. "I was wondering if that was you, Abathar. You really know how to speak your piece." She let out a chuckle. A real chuckle, not the rehearsed kind she'd gotten so good at faking. There wasn't a pony alive that could meet this changeling without being entertained. "Remind me again why you're a cockroach?" "Well, good Headmare," he said, lifting one foreleg to mine, taking off the hat and bowing. "In this form, I neither have to walk nor talk until I want to. It's really quite convenient and above all comedic. Truly, the cockroach is the perfect form." "Maybe I could help you make it permanent," Starlight joked, and they shared a laugh. "I'm afraid I have to decline, Mistress Headmare. The honor would simply be too great." But Nero grew impatient. "I think we're getting off topic. This is about Spring Breeze. Please, we have to find her." Starlight's grin faded. "You're really serious about this?" "Of course, she's our friend. We can't just sit around while she's missing." "Well, we could, but we wouldn't be good friends if we did," Abathar joked. The other two just looked at him. The changeling quickly became about as embarrassed as a cockroach could get. "Sorry," he said sheepishly. Nero lifted a hoof over his head and gave the changeling a silent, confident pet. Starlight, meanwhile, was lost in thought. She knew the pair well enough from their previous adventures. Once those two set their minds on something, no matter how silly or stupid, somehow they'd always find a way to manage. She sighed, knowing the right thing to do, and knowing exactly how stupid it was to do it. But if she didn't, they'd probably just figure it out themselves. Besides, if they succeed, maybe, just maybe, they might finally bring an end to the lies. She simply had to have faith in the power of their friendship. "Fine," she said at last. "I guess I can let you in on a lead. But you have to promise me you'll be safe, and you'll turn back at the slightest sign of danger. Got it? I don't want any more students getting hurt." They nodded their heads eagerly, and Starlight sighed again and wrote down a list. These are the last places she was seen. Go ahead and talk to the ponies there and see where it leads you. And again, the slightest sign of danger. Got it? "Aye, aye, Mistress Headmare," Abathar cried, raising one leg to his head in salute. Nero was less over the top, but thanked her as well. And with a new list of leads, the pair was off to find Spring Breeze.